Hi everyone, Mark from Audio Pursuit. And today I want to talk to you about a budget-friendly speaker that just blew me away. The LSA Signature 60. Now, a little bit of background on this. Over a year ago, LSA came out with the Signature 50. Similar design, soft dome tweeter at $5.99 a pair. Well, after seeing how well it sold, the reviews were incredible across the board. You know what? They gave the engineer, Dr. Viet Nguyen, the opportunity to kick it up a notch. And that's rare, because you got to believe in the budget world that, speaker designers go to the owners of the company and say, hey, if I could have just this much more money, I could really make it special. And in most times they say, nope, that's the line, that's it. Well, in this case, Walter Lederman of Underwood Hi-Fi, who owns LSA, said, hey, let's go for it here. And this is the result. Now, what are the differences? Well, now you have an AMT folded tweeter. And I'll be honest with you. As I said in my rim review, I love folded tweeters. There's something about them. I don't know what it is, but they just seem not to have a flaw. They can reach for the upper registers with ease, yet not sound harsh. So you get the best of a soft dome fabric tweeter. At the same time, you get those distinct super high-end sounds that you get from a metal dome. So it's this great combination. And most importantly, it's smooth as silk. Well, they kept the 6.5-inch paper cone driver the same. As you can see, it's treated. The big difference is what happens inside the crossover. Now, if you look at the inside, that's where the magic is. And that's where the money was spent, was on the crossover. You can see in the original picture, the Signature 50s had a nice crossover. Definitely better than what you would see at this price range. But they weren't satisfied there with the 60. He decided to upgrade it. You can see what you get. Some really nice quality capacitors upgraded over the 50. And then the coil, take a look at those coils. Just good quality stuff. And the results speak for themselves. Now I want to emphasize, I never heard the 50s. But the 60s, for $799 a pair, these things just sound outrageous. There is depth, there is detail. All the things you expect in a speaker of twice the price, at least, if not more, are in this pair of speakers, this budget-friendly pair of speakers. So what is it that you're hearing? Well, first of all, like I said, the top end, it's open and it's smooth. Listen to the hi-hat and the cymbals in jazz recordings. That will tell you a lot right there. The brushes just sound exceptional on those jazz recordings that you hear. The tap on the cymbals, you get that distinction. If you go into piano music, well, let me tell you, George Winston, the great contemporary pianist, he just died a few days ago. And so I've been listening to a lot of his stuff and reflecting on how his albums Summer, Winter into Spring, Autumn, December, how those got me through college writing papers. And yet when you hear it here, man, what distinction in the upper registers as he hits those notes. This is not muddied at all. And that's usually the limitation on budget speakers, is that the top end is just bright, or it's tapped down so much that you don't get anything out of it. No. The Signature 60s really hit a definitive sweet spot. It's special. No question. Now the mid-range, I mean, like I said, go further into Winston's work and you hear those notes that he strikes on the piano, and they flow. That mid-range where there's the magic, let me tell you, you feel it. You know, you make a connection. It's not dry. It's not syrupy. It's just wonderful sounding. You feel like you're out in nature in a lot of ways because it is a very natural sound. So I can't emphasize enough. These speakers just, I mean, they're amazing for their price range. If you go into rock and roll, now I did a lot of listening with 70s. I was at the end of the school year, and one of my students is a big fan of the 60s, 70s, and into the 80s on music. And he created this playlist that has over 200 some odd songs from that period. And as I went back and digging through and then pulling them up on Qobuz into a playlist, whoa, there's some great stuff to listen to here. Gordon Lightfoot, who passed away recently, there's something soul-filling about him. You understand why Bob Dylan was such a big fan of his music. He just got it right, and you feel it. Dan Fogelberg, another one, who's my personal favorite. You listen to Netherlands album. So really, no matter who you pick out of 60s, 70s, Heart. Want to get some rock and roll? Play some Heart on here. And in Nancy Wilson. Holy cow. Terrific, terrific stuff. These speakers provide some bass impact. You would say, they can't be. No. You get an oomph. Now, interestingly enough, maybe that's due to the crossover point. It's fairly high. It's at 3,600 kHz. So the driver here is doing the mid and the bass, along with the port and back, and yet you feel it. Now, I am going to say that you want some power on this. I tried the little PS Audio Sprout, the original model, at 40 watts. It's Class D. It just couldn't give these things going. The classic Pioneer SX 550 at 30 watts or the Harman Kardon 730 would definitely, with their current capability, be able to drive these nicely. I started off playing these with the Agcom GFA 535 amp. 60 watts per channel, although it does clip out at about 90. Let me tell you something. Plenty of bass. You felt the impact. It wasn't a single note either. Just a boom, boom, boom. No. You can detail the different notes. And that's what else makes these special. Because normally you just don't get that at this price range. You get just bass without distinction. The Signature 50s do that and do it well. If you go into, let's say, some heavy metal. Now, I played Edgar Winter on this. Now, I hadn't listened to Edgar Winter in a long time. And my wife thought I was a bit nuts. She came and gave me a look. But I got to tell you something. Once again, there's something here. These speakers make you feel the music. And I don't just mean just a pounding bass. I mean, you feel it in your soul. You feel the warmth of it. You feel the details, the artists. And when you think about 70s, remember how they were editing songs. They were, cutting the tape, with a razor blade and then taping the two ends back together to get that sound, but you feel it. There's a, I want to say, whether it's a richness, but more instinctively a soulfulness that these speakers can recreate that makes it special. So listen to some orchestral music. The other night, I put on, the modern version of it. I didn't go with Brahms or Beethoven or Mozart. I chose John Williams, and in particular, Schindler's List. Some of the most hauntingly beautiful music. You get Perlman's incredibly gorgeous violin and that sparse background for the theme. It just, it grabs you by the soul. As you listen through it, there's I believe it's in, they call it part 5. He only does parts. That's a weird naming system. But in part 5, you have this voice chorus. And you feel the angst. You feel the emotion and how it fits into the movie. Then a little bit later on in part 6, they open back up to the full orchestra playing the theme versus the original part, and you hear other instruments. And, there's no congestion. Really. And that's a big problem with really budget speakers in symphonic music, is the congestion. Now, not here. You get that distinction. You hear the different woodwinds, the strings. You can pick them apart, the horns. All of this. It's just magical. I invite you to go back and listen to that soundtrack and just marvel at what it creates. And I got to tell you, on the Signature 50s, it really is touching. I have to tell you this. Had I not already bought the LSA Signature 80s, I would have bought these Signature 60s because they're that good. But the Signature 80s do give you more than this. There's more detail. They kick it up a notch beyond this. So really though, $7.99, you can't beat them. If you look at my review, I talked to them against the mini monitors, the Totem Mites, which I love. I own those for years. And the ACI Emerald XLs, which still do duty in my little mini home theater setup. Love those speakers, both of them. But they sold for $800 a pair back then. They cannot touch all the detail that this Signature 60 provides. Really. And I don't know where we want to. So if you're in the market for SS speakers and you're trying desperately to stay under $1,000, really, you need to get your ears on a pair of these Signature 60s. Now, they're sold directly through Underwood Hi-Fi, so you can bring them in and give them a tryout in your system. Make sure you got a good pair of stands, even though they have some nice rubber feet on the bottom set up. You want them on stands, you want them away from the walls. Let them create that magic. These speakers deserve a serious listen. Give them every chance you got. And I think you'll be like me, really surprised. Until next time, take care.